Salutations, fellow readers, writers, and killers of time on YouTube. My name is Martha Jones, and I would like to use the androgynous sounds of my voice to share with you a few words about 8 smart words that can actually make us sound dumber. For the sake of our collective mental health, 2020 might not be the year in which I recommend that we all brush up on our Orwellian fiction. But at this moment, my 2 favorite quotes from Mr. Orwell might be these. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. And never use a long word where a short one will do. Now, never is a long time. I myself am fond of long words, and writing your book the way Mr. Orwell would have written it might be the speediest means by which to launch your publisher into her patented screw novels and everything they stand for rant. And yet, I have met better writers than I am who have bought into the notion that longer words equal better words. The example one such writer gave me was early versus latter-day Beatles recordings, and how albums such as Help are less artistically valid than, say, Abbey Road because of how few 3- and 4-syllable words they used when they were closer to the starts of their careers. Couple of things wrong with that. First and foremost, the song Help uses both 3- and 4-syllable words. Second and secondmost, our word choices should be way less about the length of the words and more about their appropriateness in a given situation. I mean, I like my vendettas, my amalgamations, and my unadulterated audacities as much as the next girl, but maybe a spelling bee or a master's thesis would be a better place to take them out for a stroll than, say, at a funeral parlor or a brothel. Anyway, the following is a list of words that we sometimes use with the intention of making ourselves sound smarter, only to later find that they may have had the opposite effect. Words number 1 and 2, literally and actually. I lumped these 2 words together in my number 1 because functionally they're pretty similar. WT literal F, for instance, is hypothetically no less meme-worthy than WT actual F. The problem is that literally and actually are to the language arts what garlic and cilantro are to the culinary arts. You either love them or hate them, and if you love them, you tend to use them, sorry y'all, I gotta do it, literally all the time. Now, writers have different opinions on how often we should use adverbs. Anne Rice, for example, loves her some adverbs. But it is not typical for writing pros to advocate for their constant use. In fact, it's pretty common for most of them to recommend removing adverbs as often as possible. There's this apocryphal Hemingwayism that if for every time you say very in your manuscript you replace it with damn, then remove the word damn, you'll have some pretty good writing left over. If that is so, I propose that for every time we use the word literally or actually, we replace it with the word flatulently, then remove the word flatulently and see what we have left over. I'm not sure that would work for everyone's writing, but I feel like it would make me think slightly harder about how important or unimportant those particular adverbs actually are to my manuscript. Word number 3, decimate. Decimate is a perfectly nice word with a long, proud history, but for those inclined to use decimate in the same context as obliterate, here is some of that history. The dec in decimate comes from decim, a Latin word meaning 10, as in decimal or decagon. Back when the Roman Empire was more so a force to be feared than to be studied, the soldiers who served her would sometimes screw up. As punishment for screwing up, a ruthless someone would go through their ranks and kill every 10th man as a warning to the 9 left standing that failure is a thing of dire consequence. So we can say that Jonesy was so upset that he decimated a bottle of tequila, but in historical context, that would mean that Jonesy only polished off about that much of said tequila. Word number 4, utilize. Though we often hear the words use and utilize interchangeably, their meanings are slightly different. Use is for when an object is applied to its intended function, like I used his brush to detangle my hair. Utilize is for when an object is applied to a function for which it was never intended, like I utilized his brush to kill that tarantula. Word number 5, basically. Though basically, like literally or actually, is an adverb, we cannot reliably assume that the sentence will be stronger if we simply remove it. Basically, this was the worst birthday ever and Father Time can go suck an egg. That statement could absolutely work with no basically at the start of it, but if the sentence was meant to be the close of a paper, a story, or a monologue, I might be taking away some of the finality from my sentence if I simply remove the basically and don't replace it with something. Some replacements I've found work well are in essence, in short, in other words, all told, or to make a long story short. I mean, I don't know how to make a long story short, but you might. Word number 6, irregardless. For those of you who have hitherto believed that this is a relatively new grammatical faux pas with which the up-and-coming generation has tasked itself to torture you, irregardless has been an object of consternation since it first appeared in print back in 1795. Compliments of the City Gazette and Daily Advertiser of Charleston, South Carolina, in case you're curious. Though widely regarded as a double negative and grammatically unsound nonsense, Corey Stamper, lexiconographer for Merriam-Webster, insists that irregardless should be accepted, included, and loved as an emphatic means of ending a discussion. If, for example, person Y says to person X, "Good day, madam. May I borrow your vibrator? I promise I shall put fresh batteries in it when I am done." Person X might respond, "Regardless of your batteries and the freshness thereof, I cannot let you borrow my vibrator." Should person Y be dissatisfied with this answer and say something like, "Please, I'll wash it very well indeed when I am done," person X could respond, "Irregardless, my answer is no." The usage of irregardless that Stamper champions, however, is not in common use. Far more common is the tendency to use regardless and irregardless interchangeably. So whether you are on team go irregardless or die irregardless, it might be a kindness to your editor and her blood pressure if you just refrain from using it in print. Word number 7, factoid. Most commonly, when people call something a factoid, they mean that what they are sharing with you is a fast fact or a little-known fact. The reason it irritates some of their fellow people, especially those who are made to learn a bunch of Greek suffixes as part of their science degree, is that oid means like, but not the same as. Kinda like android is man-like or asteroid is star-like. Therefore, by using oid as an augmenter of fact, we imply that our wee tidbit of information is fact-like, but it is not the same as a fact. And word number 8, mischievous. When I was small, the long-necked dinosaurs in the land before time were called Brontosaurus. And then some hotshot in the science biz discovered that in a wild bout of enthusiasm for assembling dino bones, their predecessors had put two separate dinos together in order to form the Brontosaurus, and it was never actually a thing. Similarly, while I was growing up, mischievous was a word I heard a lot but had not seen written out, until I tried to type it into my book, and my spell checker kept choking on it, telling me it was not a word. It turns out the spell checker was right. There is no such word as mischievous, only mischievous. Sorry, friends who may have also grown up with that word. If someone compiles a Brontosaurus for dead words the way we have a thesaurus for living words, I will totally read it. As always, thank you for giving these videos a shot. I post whenever the day job allows. Meantime, take it easy. Loves you. Bye. Like my channel, buy my crap. Doo-dah, doo-dah. There's no time to take a nap. Oh, the doo-dah day. Hey! So, despite the channel being called Self-Writeousness, I like to think that I and most of the junk on this channel is pretty relatable. Most of the words I covered in this video are in the good-natured, self-mocking tone of one who has in fact used words wrong before. The first word I recall using wrong was when I was 4 years old, and I scribbled and scribbled and scribbled around in circles, and I drew what I thought was a tuxedo, the thing that carried Dorothy away. So I am a misuser of words from way back. Those memories are old enough to vote and drink and gripe about the state of Medicare. Good times.